Joining me now for more is the Shadow Attorney-General Michaelia Cash. Good to catch up with you again, Senator. Thank you so much for joining me on the show. Let's talk about the campaign first. I noticed that Peter Dutton said today that he hopes that over the next 3 weeks, people really do connect with the election campaign. The polling suggests that the coalition is still the underdog here. What do you need to do between now and March 3 to convince those undecided voters? And we know that there are still a lot of them.
Absolutely. And I think the reality for most Australians is they are so overwhelmed by Anthony Albanese's cost of living crisis. Most of them don't know that there is an election taking place on the 3rd of May. So we have a very, very clear message for them. If you vote for Peter Dutton and the coalition team, we understand you need immediate cost of living relief. We understand that Australia is a big country and you drive huge distances, for example, in my state of Western Australia. And the best way that we can give you that immediate cost of living relief is 25 cents a litre off your petrol. Let's cut the petrol tax. So, Danica, we've got to be out there every single day, but we've also got to understand it needs to be a simple message that we give to the Australian people that we've got their back. We understand they're doing it tough. We know that we can provide them with the immediate relief that they need, but more than that, Peter Dutton and the Liberals, David Littleproud and the Nationals, the coalition team, we have a positive plan to get Australia back on track.
I agree. I think the message has to be short and simple, especially now in the last couple of weeks of this campaign. Plus, with pre-poll opening in the next week and a half, you want to get those voters on side. You've also announced today a plan to offer voluntary redundancies to public servants to help reduce government headcounts. Now, of course, this week you walked away from those plans to cut 41,000 jobs. That policy, Senator, was particularly unfavourable with women. How do you win back that vote now?
Yeah, well, in the first instance, what I'd say is we haven't walked away from our policy to ensure that Australians are getting the very best out of their taxpayer dollar in terms of an efficient public service. What we've said is over the next 5 years, we will reduce the public service by way of natural attrition and a hiring freeze by 41,000 people, the number that Labor has brought on. Now, Danica, despite Labor bringing on an additional 41,000 public servants, guess what? Processing times and waiting times under Labor have gone backwards. What we want to say to the Australian people is you deserve a government that ensures that we get every single cent out of your taxpayer dollar spent properly and in your best interests. And under Mr Albanese, your lived reality every single day is despite the bloated bureaucracy in Canberra, you are having to wait, longer waiting times, and your processing times have completely blown out. In terms of work from home, great scare campaign by Anthony Albanese. That is one of the things, Danica, that Anthony Albanese is so good at, a scare campaign. Why? Because you see, when you don't have a positive record to stand on and talk about to the Australian people, all you do is criticise coalition policy and Peter Dutton. Our policy only ever applied to the Canberra-based public service. However, when our candidates were out door knocking, people believed it also applied to the private sector. We have listened, we have learned, we have taken on board the feedback they have given us, and we have said flexibility within the workforce remains, including work from home. In terms of women, though, Danica, I talk to all Australians, and I can tell you I go to shopping centres day in and day out. The one thing that is raised, doesn't matter where you are, you walk up to someone walking out of a shopping centre and you say to them, how much did that cost you? And they look at you, they almost literally look at you and they want to cry because they understand how much more they're paying. So it's actually, we've got a plan. to ease that cost of living burden that Mr Albanese has placed on you.
Well, it all comes down to cost of living, doesn't it? Absolutely.
Yeah, it does.
Now, look, Albanese is actually going to be launching his official campaign in Perth on Sunday. Of course, your home state of Western Australia, my home state. Why do you think he's doing it over there? I find it extraordinary because he's facing backlash in the regions over there over the live sheep ban. There's offshore wind farm project plans that are unfavourable in the southwest. Why Perth? Is WA a kingmaker again this election?
Well, let's just be very clear for Mr Albanese. Don't treat us like mugs here in Western Australia. Mr Albanese, Danica, as you know, is the most anti-mining and resources and most anti-Western Australian Prime Minister we have ever seen. And I've said Mr Albanese needs to stand up on Sunday and actually say to the Western Australian people why he has destroyed the lives and livelihoods of our sheep farmers. Why? I'm in Bunbury at the moment. I have just been with Ben Small and Senator Jacinta Nampijinpa-Price at a public forum. Not one of those people supported his offshore wind farm, but there you go. That's Buffoon Bowen and, Anthony Albanese. Couldn't care less what the local community thinks. You're getting our offshore wind farm regardless of the fact that you don't want it. Don't even get me started on his decision, Albanese's decision, to kick down the road the decision on the extension of the North West Shelf project. Danica, you're a Western Australian. You and I both know that's the project that gives Western Australians cheap gas. We have a domestic reservation policy. So, Mr Albanese, stop treating us like mugs and stand up and explain to us exactly why have you been the most anti-Western Australian and anti-mining and resources Prime Minister our country has ever seen. Because the decision that we make on the 3rd of May in Western Australia is all about protecting our state's prosperity. And under an Anthony Albanese Greens Teals government, you'll further harm Western Australia. You further harm Western Australia, bad news for the national economy.
Yeah, good point. I mean, WA is the backbone right now of our economy. Michaelia Cash, it's always good to see you. Thank you so much for joining me on the show.
Great.
Appreciate your time. Thank you.